probably know about this. Somebody that I look up to, somebody that I admire, took the chance to do an interview and just talk all bad about me. Now I don't know how y'all look at that. I don't know how y'all look at it, but I don't like it, and I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm a man that learns shit from physical activity, so me and Floyd, you gotta see me. You gotta see me.
At one time, Adrien Broner had all world championships, viral stardom, and millions stacked in his account. But behind all that shine and swagger, a storm was brewing, one everyone saw, but no one dared to acknowledge. They called him the problem, and it wasn't just about boxing. The real problem was Broner didn't know how to stop burning through cash. He believed the millions would flow forever. He thought the lights would never fade. What began as victory parties morphed into an unsustainable lifestyle. Luxury whips, ice-heavy chains, private jets, wild nights. Every dollar became a status symbol, until there weren't any left. What followed wasn't a sudden downfall, which was a slow, public unraveling. And once the illusion shattered, everything else came crashing down with it. This is the story of how Adrien Broner earned $10 million and lost every cent. Broner wasn't born into riches, he was born into survival. Growing up in the tough streets of Cincinnati, he was surrounded by crime, poverty, and a world that offered no safety net. He was fighting long before he ever laced up gloves, fighting to be seen, to earn respect, to stay alive. He's spoken about watching friends die, getting jumped, getting arrested, and learning young that the streets weren't built to show mercy, but boxing was. And the moment he found the ring, something sparked. Broner's talent was raw and real, blazing fast hands, slick movement, knockout power. He had that magnetic swagger that made promoters pay attention. By his early 20s, people were calling him the next Floyd Mayweather, undefeated, flashy, bold, and unfiltered. Broner wasn't just winning fights, he was selling them. That's when the cash started raining in. His 2013 showdown with Paulie Malignaggi made waves, not just for the trash talk, but for the $1.25 to $5 million payday. His battle with Marcos Maidana pulled in even more. Endorsements followed. Payouts grew. Club appearances stacked up. Suddenly Broner was living the dream. But there was no budgeting, no accountant keeping tabs, no manager reining him in. Broner went from scraping for meals to tossing cash at clubs like confetti, and the people around him, they didn't stop him, they hyped him up. Everyone wanted a slice, and Broner handed it out like candy. Rolex E's for the squad. Cash thrown at crowds, spontaneous luxury vacations. There was no blueprint, just the thrill of right now. The more he raked in, the more he blew. He escaped poverty, but never escaped the belief that money was temporary. He spent every check like it might be his last. Lived out every fantasy a broke kid could dream. Up supercars, diamond grills, penthouse nights. But beneath the flash, cracks were already forming. And no one cared enough to look. It wasn't just his wins that made Adrien Broner infamous, it was the persona. Loud, cocky, and completely uncensored, he was a walking headline. Dyed hair, outrageous stunts, wild videos. Broner built a spectacle around himself. He once filmed himself flushing $20 bills down a toilet. Another time, he pretended to eat a sandwich made of $100 bills. Boxing had never seen someone like him, someone who wanted to be a celebrity more than a champion. And for a while, it worked. Fans tuned in just to see what chaos he'd unleash. Next, whether he'd dominate or self-destruct. But Broner didn't realize that attention doesn't always cash out long-term. Behind the scenes, brands were backing off. Major companies that once flirted with partnerships suddenly went cold. TV networks that had high hopes quietly started rethinking things. In boxing, it's not just about fists, it's about image. And Broner was becoming harder to market. He wasn't just unpredictable, he was toxic. In 2016, footage surfaced of Broner allegedly assaulting someone outside a bowling alley. Instead of damage control, Broner doubled down. When arrest warrants came for missing court, he laughed about it online. He taunted the legal system, mocked his opponents, but the public was getting tired. There's a thin line between being the villain fans love to hate and being the guy no one wants to touch. Promoters backed away. HBO and Showtime started limiting his appearances, and Broner, he didn't pull back, he went even harder. But the stunts weren't just costing him reputation, they were draining his bank account. Cancelled sponsorships, legal fees, blown business deals. One boxing insider later claimed Broner lost at least 2 major endorsement contracts, each worth 6 figures, because companies didn't want to be associated with his chaos. And when the fight purses began shrinking, those lost deals could have been lifelines, but they were already gone. Broner had become a brand nobody wanted to buy, and the worst part, he didn't seem to care. There's reckless spending, and then there's Adrien Broner. At his peak, Broner wasn't just living, Big E was living like the money faucet could never run dry. Bentleys, Ferraris, Rolls Royces, sometimes multiples of each. He handed out Rolexes like party favors, walked into strip clubs and dropped 5 figures in one night while his entourage filmed it all for Instagram. But what looked like flexing was just a mask. Behind the curtain, there was no plan. Savings, no strategy, just chaos. When financial analysts compared Broner's income to his spending, the math straight up didn't work. Court records showed that at times. He had less than $20 in his personal bank account. Yet every week, he posted another shopping spree, another jet, another secured the bag moment. How? Because it wasn't real wealth, it was borrowed luxury. Most of the cars, leased the homes, rented the jewelry, financed. He was performing the lifestyle for an audience addicted to the drama. And Broner kept delivering, even if it meant faking it all. It all unraveled when he started skipping court-ordered payments. One of the most infamous moments came in 2021 when a judge grilled him for flexing stacks of cash online while claiming he only had $13 in the bank. The judge wasn't having it. "Mr. Broner, you have the money to pay this judgment," she snapped. "You're just choosing not to." That moment peeled back the curtain. It exposed the hard truth. Broner wasn't just broke. He was broken. He stayed broke not just because he never had money, but because he never learned to respect it. Broner burned through over $10 million gone with nothing to show but some blurry party memories and a growing list of legal problems. And the worst part, no one told him to stop. His crew hyped it. His fans celebrated it. The industry looked the other way because for a while, his chaos was profitable. But when the checks stopped clearing, Broner was left in the ruins, no savings, no property, no one left to blame. As the money vanished, the lawsuits started stacking. But Adrien Broner didn't just run into legal trouble, he practically invited it. His wild behavior outside the ring attracted drama like a magnet, and each case came with a hefty price tag. In 2018, he faced a lawsuit after a nightclub incident, where he was accused of forcibly kissing a woman. A civil court ordered him to pay $830,000 in damages, and that was just the beginning. Instead of confronting the judgment, Broner ducked it. He skipped court, ignored legal deadlines, and let the penalties keep building. By 2020, he was being held in contempt for not paying up, and instead of laying low, Broner did the opposite. He posted flashy videos on social media flexing stacks of cash, showing off luxury gear, wild partying. He laughed. The courts didn't. In a now infamous virtual hearing in November 2020, Broner claimed he only had $13 in his bank account, even though his recent videos told a different story. He said his friends were sending him money via Zelle and Cash App. The judge wasn't buying it. "You have money coming in, yet you keep saying you don't," she told him. "This is serious." The court ordered him to hand over financial documents and jailed him until he could prove he could pay. That moment, being called a liar, publicly humiliated, briefly jailed, should have been his wake-up call. But Broner didn't stop spiraling. It wasn't just one lawsuit. Over the years, his name popped up on dozens of court dockets: assault charges, reckless driving, unpaid debts, child support cases, and no-shows for court. Each fine, judgment, and overdue payment wasn't just a legal headache, it chipped away at his already bleeding finances. And what made it worse, Broner never handled things quietly. He made them public. He mocked his legal issues online, turned court appearances into side shows, and treated real consequences like marketing stunts. But the money that once shielded him from the fallout, it was long gone now. The law had him boxed in. By the late 2010s, Adrien Broner was a shell of the fighter he used to be. The speed faded, the drive dulled, the spotlight dimmed. But instead of adapting, he tried to muscle his way back into relevance. He promised massive comebacks, each one pitched as the one, but none delivered. In 2017, he faced Mikey Garcia. In what was supposed to be a career reset, he lost badly. Low output, poor conditioning, nothing like the old Broner. Critics called it lifeless. Fans were let down, and whatever money he made from that fight didn't last. Then came his 2021 fight against Giovanni Santiago. He barely pulled off a win. The performance was forgettable. The crowd didn't vibe with it. Social media clowned him. The numbers said it all. He landed just 98 punches in 12 rounds. He looked slow, disconnected, and flat. The knockout artist was now fighting just to survive and getting booed for it, and every failed comeback carried a hidden price tag. Broner's training camps were notoriously expensive. He'd fly in trainers, pay for top-tier sparring partners, rent luxury facilities, and drop cash on gear like he was prepping for a title shot, not a mid-tier return. But boxing doesn't hand out pity money. If you're not the main event, you're not getting paid. And Broner was no longer a headliner. His image was damaged. Promoters didn't trust him. Sponsors ghosted him. This was the same guy who once said he'd never fight for less than $1 million. Now he was grabbing any gig just to keep the lights on. In 2022, he signed with BLK Prime for a supposed comeback tour, multiple fights, a clean slate, a guaranteed bag, but the deal fell apart. Before it even began, fights were canceled, the money disappeared, and Broner was right back where he started. Every failed return wasn't just another blow to his legacy. It was another financial punch he couldn't take. In boxing, fame is fast. One day, you're the future. The next, you're forgotten. 4. Adrien Broner. The fall didn't come with a bang. It came with silence, because the harshest thing the boxing world ever did to him was stop paying attention. In his prime, Broner couldn't walk into a gym without causing a scene. Promoters were lining up. Networks built full cards around him. He had Mayweather's endorsement, a crowd-pleasing style, and superstar confidence. But the more he lost inside the ring and out, the faster the industry backed away. By 2022, Showtime stopped saying his name. PBC left him off their cards. Even Floyd, his mentor, stopped acknowledging him. Behind closed doors, the whispers grew louder. Trainers said he wouldn't show. Sparring partners said he wasn't serious. Managers said he refused structure. He gained a reputation difficult to manage, unfocused, a liability to business. Then came the collapse of the BLK Prime comeback. When the deal crumbled, went on Instagram, venting about betrayal, broken promises, and being played. But the reality was harsher. The boxing world didn't want to deal with him anymore. Boxing is savage, but it's still a business. And Broner, he became bad for business. He burned bridges with promoters. He bailed on training camps. He showed up out of shape. He demanded massive payouts for fights he clearly wasn't prepared to win. When he wasn't blaming his mental health, it was legal trouble. When it wasn't that, it was money problems. But by then, the sport had already turned the page. A new generation had stepped up. Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, Shocker Stevenson. They were everything Broner could have been, but they were becoming a tan fast. And the fans, they stopped asking, when's Broner coming back? They started asking, is he okay? The man who once stole every headline now couldn't even buy his way onto an undercard, and the scariest part, he hadn't realized boxing had quietly shut the door behind him. Adrien Broner didn't fall alone, but he did fall in silence. The entourage that once hyped him up, the fake friends who stuffed his ears with bad advice, even the trainers who swore they had his back. They all watched. Some stuck around to enjoy the ride. Others vanished the moment the money dried up. But through it all, almost no one stepped in to stop the downward spiral. At his peak, Broner rolled deep. Dozens of people at his fights. Security, stylists, hangers-on, camera crews. He bragged about loyalty, about taking care of everyone from back home. And maybe he did, but very few of those people told him the truth. No one said, slow down. No one took him aside and said, this isn't sustainable. Instead, they gassed him up, fed his ego, celebrated the chaos. Behind closed doors, a few people in the boxing world did try to reach out. One former sparring partner said he pleaded with Broner to get financial help, but Broner didn't want to hear it. He thought the money would never run out. Even some promoters gave quiet warnings, urging him to invest, to save, to plan for life after boxing. Broner didn't listen. Or maybe he just couldn't. The worst part, the people who could have helped didn't push hard enough. Even Floyd Mayweather, once like a big brother, backed off. There was no intervention, no tough love, just silence. When Broner finally needed a hand, he looked around and realized the crowd was gone. The same people who popped bottles with him were missing in court. The ones who wore his merch were nowhere when he checked into rehab, and the ones who smiled in pictures, they weren't calling when he went dark for weeks. You could see it in his eyes as the years passed. Tired, defensive, unraveling. The showman was slipping away, and behind him was a trail of people who either couldn't help or didn't try. Each time he fell, it got quieter. Adrien Broner used to own the spotlight. He'd troll reporters, hijack pressers, turn meltdowns into memes. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being funny. By 2020, Broner's Instagram felt like a diary unraveling in real time. One day, he'd be partying surrounded by women, throwing money. The next, he'd be crying on camera, talking about depression. In one haunting live stream, he whispered, I just don't know what's going on anymore. The comments flooded in, some supportive, others cruel. But the man behind the phone was breaking. He posted desperate dimes to Al Heyman, his longtime advisor, begging for a fight, begging for cash. He shared bank screenshots, claimed he was owed money, said everyone had turned their back on him. True or not, it didn't matter. The desperation was ran public. In August 2022, Broner stunned fans by pulling out of a scheduled fight just days before it was set to happen. He cited mental health. I'm going through a lot right now, he wrote, but I have to step back and deal with it before I go risk my life in that ring again. Fans were split. Some showed empathy. Others said it was just another excuse. But the people closest to him knew this wasn't just about boxing anymore. Broner was battling demons. No one could punch their way through. Just days later, he was back online, shirtless, dancing to loud music, grinning with a drink in hand, like nothing had happened. The cycle was exhausting. Felt it. The boxing world felt it. And Broner probably felt it most. even when he checked into rehab. In 2023, no one believed it would last, and it did in single quotes soon. He was back out, back online, back pretending everything was fine. But the performances were hollow. The energy felt forced out. Every video, every rant, every flash of bravado felt like a cry buried underneath. Please, somebody help me. But no one ever did. Today, Adrien Broner exists somewhere between what he was and what he never became. Part faded icon, part cautionary tale. Once he strutted into arenas, in gold chains and fur coats. Now, he walks into small gyms hoping for one more shot. The $10 million. Gone. Spent, melted into memories of champagne, nights, courtrooms, and Lee Bentleys. Some sources say Broner is nearly broke. Others claim he's scraping by on local endorsements, small fight purses, and minor appearances. He's gone from luxury hotels to cheap motels, from viral knockouts to training in forgotten gyms. He still posts, still talks comebacks, still flashes cash, but it hits different now. The comments are no longer envy, they're pity. The laughs are gone. The shine has faded. The IRS reportedly has him on their radar. Old lawsuits still linger. Debts haven't disappeared. And the lifestyle he once flaunted, he can't even fake it anymore. Broner has 4 kids, but no financial foundation. So what happens when the fight money finally runs out? The boxing world has moved on. New stars have taken the spotlight. New names headline the cards, and Broner, the name that once lit up posters, now gets mentioned with a shrug. Yeah, I wonder what happened to him. There's no retirement fund, no brand empire, no fallback, just a man who once had it all and let it slip straight through his hands. He made $10 million, spent it faster than it came, and now, all that remains is the warning.